old were you when you learned about dinosaurs? Were you fascinated by these towering reptiles? Even if you never went through a dino phase, you have to admit, they're pretty awesome. Studying these creatures was more than a side interest for Michael Benton, a professor of vertebrate paleontology at the University of Bristol in England. He's also the author of the new book, Dinosaurs: New Visions of a Lost World. Benton's research focuses on one of the greatest prehistoric mysteries of all time, dinosaur extinction. You might have learned that a giant asteroid is responsible for wiping out the dinosaurs, and you're correct. This theory has been accepted since the 1980s. But Benton got to thinking, what if there's more to add to the storyline? Would our favorite dinosaurs, like the T-Rex and Triceratops, still be here if the asteroid had missed Earth? He hoped to answer that question in a recent article published in the journal Nature Communications.
We found in two studies, we did a global scale study in 2016, and then we did a study particularly on North American dinosaurs, just published a few weeks ago, 2021. And in both of those, we found a dramatic downturn, something like 20 or 30 million years before the end of the Cretaceous, the last period of the Mesozoic. And so that it seems that certain groups of dinosaurs within individual localities, they were kind of doing okay. There's nothing to worry about. If you'd gone back in a time machine, you'd have seen T-Rex chasing a Triceratops and a herd of, these are the spiky horned ones with horns on their faces. The Triceratops would form a ring and to defend their babies, and the T-Rex would be grunting with disapproval and so on. But summed up over the whole world, or even over the whole of North America, it seems it was just at the beginnings of a downturn.
So how did paleontologists notice this decline? They used the entire fossil record to find the rate of replacement, or how quickly new dinosaur species were popping up. What they found added a whole new perspective to the story.
So that we repeated the thing. When we did this in 2016, a lot of people were very unhappy. No, this can't be right, blah, 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 blah. You didn't think about this or that or the other thing. And so we repeated the one with a different data set, focusing in on North America, where the record is probably the best in the world for the last millions of years of the dinosaurs, and got the same result, absolutely. And the methods we use repeat the calculations billions of times. Every possible permutation, every possible change of conditions, the pattern is clear. It's a decline every time.
The data proved that there were other forces slowly pushing dinosaurs out the door. Some paleontologists believe climate change is responsible. Benton says that these creatures enjoyed the warm weather of the Mesozoic era, but as the Earth's geography changed and temperatures slowly dropped, dinosaur numbers fell before the asteroid.
When I started looking at the extinction of the dinosaurs, there were two very definite viewpoints. And the traditional view, the older view back in the 1960s and 70s, was that dinosaurs declined gradually over 40 or 50 million years. And this was maybe connected with mountain building episodes as the Earth broke up and the continents moved apart, which could have made parts of the world uninhabitable. But then the impact idea became accepted. It was first sort of rejected. People thought, no, this is far too dramatic and amazing. And no, it's ridiculous. But of course, the evidence piled up, and there is no doubt. And we have the crater. The crater is in Mexico.
Until now, these two viewpoints rarely overlapped in conversation. Benton says that although the global fossil record is incomplete, both extinction theories of the steady and sudden collapse of the dinosaurs can be proven true. One key piece is the North American fossil record, which has far less gaps than other countries like Australia and China. Benton focused his research on these fossils and got a more accurate picture of what happened to the dinosaurs.
So what it's telling us is that there's a little bit of truth in both of the original ideas. And this is not us compromising just to try and be nice. Oh, well, like a political debate. Well, people never compromise, but just sort of compromise. Oh, well, you gradualists were partly right, you catastrophists were partly right. It's based on the evidence, it's based on the data, and we had no particular expectation. Although I think we were clear that the asteroid did it. So there is no question, the physical evidence that the asteroid hit the Earth in Mexico, the Chicxulub impact, 66 million years ago, is absolutely there.
Benton says that isn't the only mass extinction event in Earth's history, but it appears to be the only one caused by an asteroid. Other events were typically triggered by massive volcanic eruptions that violently heated the atmosphere.
The one that ended the dinosaurs happened 66 million years ago. That was the latest one. And going back, winding the clock back, there were another 4 or 5 big events. So we often talk about the big 5, and this is why people sometimes refer to the present biodiversity crisis as the 6th mass extinction. Actually, the more we look, the more we seem to find. They don't happen regularly. They happen according to a catastrophe, some dramatic or shocking event that human beings have never seen.
Hopefully, no barreling asteroids hit Earth anytime soon. Either way, with or without the impact, scientists are now fairly certain that dinosaurs were warm-blooded, so as the Earth's temperatures cooled, they would have eventually become extinct anyway.
Temperatures coming down towards the levels they're at today, and the beginnings of the Antarctic ice cap, maybe 30, 40 million years ago, I don't think dinosaurs would have survived that. So I think even if the asteroid had not hit, they would have been continuing to decline. There were little bursts of warm temperature 50 million years ago and so on. That might have helped them a bit. But it got cooler about the time of the spread of grasslands over all the continents, maybe 30, 40 million years ago. I think they would have gone out because they just couldn't have survived the cold winters.
In some ways, this species is still around today. Benton points out that avian dinosaurs were the least affected by the asteroid's impact. These are dinosaurs with bird-like features.
The birds survived. And as far as we can tell, only maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 species of birds survived through the extinction event. And I think the evidence is that they were ground dwellers. So there were things like ancestors of chickens and ducks that could sort of grub around on the ground. They were not dependent on flying and catching flying prey. But beyond that, what can we say? They survived. There were hundreds of species of birds went extinct, and it was just 3 or 4 species maybe survived through, from which we get all the 10,000 species of modern birds.
So, any guesses on what the next mass extinction event may look like? Benton says that sometimes we forget that extinction is a natural process. It makes way for new species to thrive. However, that doesn't give people a free pass to live irresponsibly.
People are cutting down those rainforests in Brazil. There goes that valley, 27 unique species of beetles. There goes another valley. Whoops, there's another 32 species of unique beetle. Who cares about beetles? Well, those are species, and therefore this is adding up. And so it's almost certain that the figures are huge. And they're matching up to the levels we've had in the mass extinctions in the past, because they've, in the end, typically done for maybe 50% of species. And at this rate, I guess it'll carry on. Yeah, what do? People know what we have to do. We have to stop cutting down the rainforest in Brazil. We have to stop wearing and throwing away plastic. We have to stop drinking out of plastic bottles and throwing them in the sea. All the obvious things. It's quite easy. We know what to do. And we just need people to actually do those things.
We'll never get the chance to walk alongside the beasts of our childhood dreams, like in Jurassic Park. But we can help to slow the disappearance of other majestic creatures. You can learn more about Michael Benton's research in his new book, Dinosaurs: New Visions of a Lost World. You can also find archives of past shows and guests at viewpointsradio.org. Our writer this week is Scarlett O'Hara. Our executive producer is Amira Zaveri. Studio production by Jason Dickey. I'm Marty Peterson.
Viewpoints returns in just a moment.
Cardiovascular or CV disease is the #1 killer of adults in the U.S., and millions of people trying to reduce their risk of a heart attack or stroke may unknowingly be taking medications that are not proven nor FDA approved to reduce cardiovascular risk. Let's hear from cardiologist Dr. John Osborne.
Many people are unaware that after a failed outcome study, the FDA revoked the approval of fenofibrates when added to statins, as the risk outweighed the benefits to heart health. It's important to remember that statins, along with diet and exercise, can lower cardiovascular risk by about 25 to 35%, but persistent cardiovascular risk which can lead to a life-threatening event, may remain. I would tell anyone still being prescribed fenofibrates, such as Tricor and Trilipix, with a statin, to talk to their doctor about FDA-approved therapies for cardiovascular risk reduction.
To learn more and get clear on the facts, visit itscleartomenow.com. Again, that's itscleartomenow.com.
And that's Viewpoints for this week. Viewpoints is a production of MediaTrax Communications. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more about upcoming shows and find a library of past programs on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and more information about our guests at viewpointsradio.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Viewpoints. Coming up next week.
Texting, tweeting, gaming, gambling, sugar, shopping, social media posts, you name it. Everything has been drugified today, making us all hooked and not wanting to stop.
It seems like addictive tendencies are lurking in every corner these days. Then,
I've really been lucky to not care so much about the repercussions of being myself.
We talk about the power of confidence with ballerino James Whiteside. I'm Marty Peterson.
and I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.